Alright, in this one we're gonna see how you can parse command lines arguments with C. And of course you probably all already know that you have argc and argv in the main, and you can probably like iterate over those and get like positional arguments. But maybe your utility you're creating, you want flags, like any normal commands, and so that's what we are going to do today, because there is already a function in the POSIX standard that does it for you. And this function is called getopt, like so. You can see that it's in UniSTD, so it's not portable for Windows, unfortunately. I'm sure you guys have something else. I mean, probably Windows also has this somewhere, but anyway. And so, yeah, let me quickly show you how to use it. So first you will need a variable. I call it option oftentimes. That's where the flag, like the name of your option, will be. So if you have a flag like -a, the character a will be in this option. Yeah, don't ask me why it's an int. Maybe wide characters, maybe compatibility, who knows. Then you will have a while loop that will iterate over each of the arguments where you assign option to getopt. And here you will pass argc, argv, and you will pass a special string. And this the getopt function, when it's done parsing, will return -1. So -1. So you say while it's not -1. And here we have our little loop, and then we're gonna have a switch on the option, and there each case will be one of our options. And I forgot to mention that getopt only supports like one character options, so you cannot have like foo, for example, as an option, which is a limitation. But if you're doing small utilities, or yeah, a lot of stuff can be done with the one letter options, so might as well use that. There is another thing that I will show for long options. So, and so you have argc, argv as the two first arguments, and then you have a string where you're going to detail your options. So let's say I want one option called A and one option called B. And what I'm going to do is match on the character A, do the same for B, and let's just print F here, I got A, and here I got B, I got B, and let's compile that. So of course, with no option, it does nothing, but if I give it the option B, it says I got B. If I give it the option A, I got A. If I give it both, it says both, and of course it parses the thing how you would expect, so both of them separated, it's all fine. And it has like error handling built in, so if you give an option like F that doesn't exist, it will automatically exit the program and give you like invalid option F, a nice error message. Next, what you can do is, of course, you may want to have like flags like A or B, but maybe after you still want positional arguments. So for example, like you have a command and you have some flags, and then you pass in a series of files, and on all those files you want to do operations on them, and so that's like yeah, just regular positional arguments. So let's say foo baz, and you would wonder how do we access those, and there is it's rather simple. You have just a global variable in UniSTD that is changed by getopt, that is called opt-ind. So the way you could use it is you have an index, you start at opt-ind like so, while I is lower than argc, let's say I++, and let's copy paste a printf from above, and let's just quickly demonstrate that how it works. So I and then arg vi. So opt-in will indicate the index in argv where the parsing stopped. So in this case above, it would parse A, B, and then the opt-in would be, well, in this case, the index number 3, I think. So yeah, let's try that. So yeah, you can see that opt-in was 3, and so I will be 3 for 5, and we will be able to iterate on the rest of the arguments that the user passes. So yeah, that's opt-in for you. There is also flags that can have arguments. So for example, maybe you want A to have some value, let's say hello. And right now, of course, it wouldn't work too well. It would consider hello as a positional argument. But you can, there is a little syntax in the getopt opt string, as they call it, where you can add a colon after an option, and that means this option takes an argument. So if I redo it now, you can see that the hello didn't appear in the positional arguments. And now what you can do, there is another global variable called opt_arg that will be set to the string in the argument of the flag where you want an argument. So here I use opt_arg and I will print it when I get A. So if I redo that, you can see that hello, the option A got the string hello. And yeah, it can give anything there. Next, there is also the stuff that you have on most commands. So let's say you would want to suddenly consider to B to be a positional argument, because sometimes, I don't know, you want to pass arguments to another subcommand, and it's a bit strange, but you've probably encountered that before, where you need to do 2 dashes, like so. And if you do that, you can see that B will not be considered as a regular option. It will basically stop the parsing if you do that. So yeah, that's pretty much every utility ever has this functionality, but it works here as well. Next, if you want, you can have like custom error messages. So by default, it was, as I showed you earlier, an error message that will be printed for you if you give the wrong option. But you can also match against the question mark. And here you could say error, like so. And this will be run when there is an error. But I think you need to have a special syntax again, where you do put like the colon as the first character of the opt string. Otherwise, I don't think it works. So now, if I just do this, that's fine. If I give F, it prints the error message, the custom error message I set here instead of the default one. It can be useful if you want to print like a help text, for example, when there is an error. You also have, I think, you can match against the colon, and that will be if like A expects an argument, but the user doesn't give one. You can say printf expected arguments, like so. And I think if I say A with, well, I did forget a colon, but if I say A with nothing, it ends up in this case here. So yeah, I think that's about it for the getopt function. Yeah, it's quite useful. As you can see, it's a very simple utility, and yeah, quite efficient. But of course, some of you might want the long option, and for that you have getopt long. And so it's still in UniSTD, but unfortunately, this is not a POSIX standard. It's defined by the GNU standard. And I've never used it because I've never felt the need for it. But there is so I won't go in detail in this video about it, but you can see that there is a nice example at the bottom of the man page. So the way it seems to be used is you just have a list of options, an array of options, where you define a string for the option name, and then I'm not sure what it is, required argument, probably some define somewhere, and then maybe the number of arguments, or I'm not sure, but you have some kind of array to define the behavior, and then it's similar, I think, where you probably have a loop or something, and you match on the different arguments. So yeah, if you have a more advanced use case, you can use that. But anyway, I think that's about it for this video. I hope you got something out of it, and that it will make your life easier when creating small executables, and you quickly need some options to make them a bit more dynamic. Anyhow, that's it for today, and yeah, see you in the next one.